always thought I was making the right choice. I thought I was smart, maybe even a little lucky, but looking back now, I can't believe how blind I was. And no one, not even my closest friends, warned me. But here I am, 34 years old, sitting in my Honda Civic in the parking lot of a Target in Las Vegas, shaking my head at the mess I've made. Yeah, I've done some messed up stuff, but it's my life, right? I'm not here to make everyone happy. The thing is, I used him. I used my husband and I didn't even realize it until it was too late. Hi, I'm Ivy, 34 years old, and here's my story. I know you'll judge me, but you don't know the whole story. You don't know how many times I sat there thinking that maybe I made the wrong choice in my life. Maybe I should have waited. Maybe I shouldn't have been so blinded by the luxury, by the things he could give me. I wasn't a gold digger at first, I swear. When I first met Paul, he wasn't the rich, successful guy you see today. He wasn't some tech entrepreneur or whatever. He was just this charming guy working as an electrician who had big dreams. He was tall, attractive, and a little rough around the edges. I liked him, I really did. He had that energy, that I'm going to build something attitude. He was going places, and I saw that potential. I wasn't in it for the money. I liked him for him, or at least that's what I thought. I made the first move, actually. I could tell he liked me back, but I didn't want to wait around, so I asked him out. We clicked, and it was great at first, but then life started getting in the way, didn't it? We had kids, 3 kids. I remember when we had our first, I was so excited thinking I had it all figured out. Paul was working his ass off and I was staying home taking care of the kids. Everything was good except for one thing. His business started taking off. No, scratch that. His electrical contracting business exploded. He started making money, serious money. And as his success grew, I started seeing things a little differently. What used to be a cute little townhouse in Henderson that we could barely afford became this sprawling house in Summerlin with a pool and a 3-car garage. And I won't lie to you, I started liking it. I started liking it a lot. At first, I didn't think it was a problem. I told myself it was just the way things worked out. Paul worked hard for his money, and I was here supporting him, right? But that's where I started slipping. I started getting addicted to the lifestyle, the vacations to San Diego, the fancy dinners on the Strip, the shopping sprees at the Forum shops, the status. I mean, who wouldn't? You wouldn't be human if you didn't love it. I didn't realize how much I was depending on it until it was too late. And no, I didn't need Paul to tell me I was acting spoiled. He did, of course, but I didn't care. I didn't want to listen to him. He was just complaining about me spending too much. But what was I supposed to do? I'm not good at saving money. I've never been. I live in the moment. The kids were growing up, and I was starting to feel like everything I had built was falling apart. Sure, Paul had money, but we had these constant arguments. There was always something. I don't know when it started, but somewhere between the 3rd kid and the 7th year of marriage, I stopped seeing Paul as this charming, hardworking guy and started seeing him as my personal bank account. It wasn't conscious at first, but when you're living in luxury, it's easy to forget about the person who worked 16-hour days to get it all. And that's exactly what I did. I forgot about him. And let me tell you, I hated myself for it, but I never showed it. I never showed any of it to him. I was the perfect wife, the perfect mother, but deep down, I knew what I was doing. I was taking advantage of him, and it didn't even feel like I was doing something wrong at the time. I wanted more. I always wanted more. Every time we fought about money, every time he tried to bring up his concerns, I shot him down. What did he know about managing money anyway? I was the one who was spending it, wasn't I? But one night, everything changed. It was a typical argument, same old crap. I was complaining about not getting enough me time, about how I was always stuck with the kids while he was off bidding on commercial jobs. He was exhausted and we were yelling at each other in our living room with the vaulted ceilings. And then it slipped. I don't even know how it came out, but it did. I told him, I don't know why I married you. You were just some electrician when we met. I only stayed because you could give me what I wanted. It was like everything froze. I didn't even realize what I had said until he just stared at me, completely stunned. His face went pale, and I could see the hurt in his eyes. It was like I had hit him with a sledgehammer. But I didn't even feel bad. I didn't apologize. I couldn't even bring myself to do it. I wasn't going to back down. And then when I saw the look in his eyes, the way he closed off emotionally, I realized something. I had crossed a line, but I didn't know how to take it back. I was too deep in it, too far gone. And that's where I'm stuck now. I've made my bed, I've messed up, but I'm not going to fix it. It's too late for that. Paul didn't say anything after I dropped that bomb on him. He just stood there, staring at me like he was processing it, trying to figure out what the hell to do with someone like me. The silence was so thick it was suffocating. I thought maybe he'd yell or at least show some emotion, but no, nothing. He just walked away, didn't say a word. I remember hearing his footsteps echo down the hallway, disappearing into our master bedroom, and I stood there in the middle of the living room, still not feeling anything. I thought he'd come back and start a fight, demand an explanation, something. But no. Instead, he stayed quiet, which was even worse. That silence said it all. It made me feel like I had no control, like I was losing him. I didn't even realize how much I was taking him for granted until it started slipping away. I didn't get it until it was too late. The next day, everything felt different. The house was quieter. Paul was distant, but he didn't bring up the argument. Instead, it was like he just pulled back completely. He wasn't the same with me, and I hated it. I hated that I wasn't getting what I wanted anymore, but at the same time, it pissed me off. I didn't understand why he was acting like I was the problem. I mean, yeah, I said some things, but wasn't I justified? He's the one who let me get away with all of it. It wasn't like I was demanding more money. I wasn't out here maxing out credit cards or anything. But the way he started treating me, the way he started pulling away emotionally, it pissed me off. I started thinking about how things were in the beginning, when I was doing everything for him. When I first met him, I gave him everything I had. I made the first move. I put in the effort. I supported his dreams when he was just some guy with a work truck. So why was he acting like I wasn't the one who helped him get there? Why was he acting like I wasn't a part of this whole thing? I remember one night, about a week after that fight, we were sitting at the dinner table with the kids. It was one of those awkward dinners, you know, the kind where no one talks, and you just pick at your food because there's this huge cloud hanging over everything. Paul was just sitting there, not saying anything, and I couldn't take it anymore. I snapped. I told him, "You know, it's so typical of you to pull away like this when things get hard, always shutting me out. I don't even know why I put up with you. I could have had so much more." The kids went quiet, and I could see the look in Paul's eyes. His face tightened, and he said, "I'm just trying to protect what we have, Ivy, but you don't seem to care about that." And in that moment, I could feel my heart race. I felt guilty, but I wasn't about to admit it. No way. Not after everything I'd built. Not after everything I'd worked for. I wasn't going to be the one to apologize first. I wasn't going to be the one who looked weak. But something in me started to change after that. The guilt started creeping in. It wasn't obvious at first. It was like a little voice in the back of my head whispering that maybe I wasn't being fair. But I ignored it. I kept ignoring it because I was angry. Angry at him for not giving me what I wanted. Angry at myself for letting things get this bad. I was pissed. I didn't even realize how much I was pushing him away, how much I was pushing everything good away. Over the next few days, things got worse. He started leaving earlier for work, staying later at job sites, and I started getting the sense that he was avoiding me. It wasn't that he was doing anything wrong, but I knew he wasn't coming home for me anymore. He wasn't coming home to the same house I once made feel like a home. And I could feel it. The distance was growing, and I couldn't make it stop. I kept telling myself that it was his fault, that if he just gave me more attention, if he just appreciated everything I did for him, this wouldn't be happening. But deep down, I knew it was my fault. I knew it was me. I didn't want to face it, though. I couldn't, not yet. But eventually, it started eating at me. I'd lay awake at night in our king-size bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering where things had gone wrong. I thought back to when we were first married, when we were so happy, so in love. It wasn't about money then. It wasn't about houses or cars or vacations. It was about us. But now it felt like I was just holding on to a life I didn't even recognize anymore. I started questioning myself. Was I really just in this for the money? Was I really the kind of person who would do that? And the more I thought about it, the more it became clear. I had been using him. I didn't see it before, but I was using him. And I wasn't even sorry about it. Not yet, at least. I know it sounds awful, but that's where I was, and I couldn't pull myself out of it. Not yet. Things came to a head the next weekend. It was a Saturday, and Paul was at home for once instead of checking on job sites. I figured maybe we could talk, try to work through the tension. But honestly, I wasn't sure I was ready to face what I'd done. I still didn't want to admit it to myself, let alone him. He came downstairs in the morning looking like he hadn't slept. I could tell he was exhausted. There was this weight about him, like he was carrying something heavy, and I knew it was about me. He sat down at the kitchen island, grabbed his coffee, and didn't say anything. Normally I would have made some small talk, but I didn't feel like pretending anymore. I didn't want to ask how his day was going or pretend like everything was fine. After a few minutes of silence, I finally said, "Paul, we need to talk." He looked up at me, his eyes cold. "About what?" I swallowed hard, not really sure where to start. I didn't want to be vulnerable, but there was this weird, growing feeling that I had to do something. So I did what I always do. I went straight for the emotional card. "Look, I've been thinking, and I think we both know what's been happening. I've been putting myself first, and I've been so focused on us and what we have, but I'm starting to feel like I've been taking it for granted, taking you for granted." Paul's face didn't change. He didn't show any emotion, and that pissed me off even more. Why wasn't he reacting? Why wasn't he angry like I expected him to be? But that's the thing with Paul. He was the kind of person who didn't let his emotions get the best of him. He'd always keep it cool, too cool. "It's not just about you, Ivy," he finally said, his voice steady, but there was a sharpness to it. "You can't keep using me for what I've built. You can't keep playing this game and expecting it to end well." That hit me hard, but I didn't show it. Instead, I laughed, probably more nervously than I'd ever admit. "Come on, Paul, I've been here for you, for us. You're acting like I'm some kind of gold digger." But deep down, I knew he was right. I was using him. Not even intentionally at first. But over the years, the money, the lifestyle, the comfort of everything, somewhere along the way, I started taking it all for granted. And I didn't realize it until it was almost too late. "No, Ivy," Paul said, his voice cold now. "You're using me for a life that you didn't build. I don't know when it started, but it's been going on for too long. It's not just about money, it's about respect." He stood up then, and I could see the tension in his shoulders. He was done. He was finally showing it, the thing I'd been avoiding for months. His eyes were sharp, like he was staring through me. "You want a divorce, don't you?" he asked bluntly. It was like a slap to the face. I froze, not knowing what to say. I wanted to scream, "No, I didn't mean it like that. I was just frustrated." But the truth was, I wasn't sure anymore. It wasn't about just being frustrated. It was about everything I had and everything I still wanted. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come out. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Paul wasn't just talking about the argument anymore. He was talking about the relationship. "You've already made up your mind, haven't you?" I finally whispered. Paul didn't answer. He didn't need to. His silence spoke louder than anything he could have said. The hurt was there, in his eyes, in his voice, in everything he did. And I knew then that I had pushed him too far. I stood there, paralyzed. The guilt finally started to creep in, but it wasn't enough to make me feel sorry. Not yet. All I could think about was how this whole thing was falling apart. The house, the money, the cars. It all started to feel worthless in that moment. But I wasn't ready to admit it. Not to him, not to myself. But then he spoke again. Quieter this time, almost like he was talking to himself. I didn't work 70-hour weeks just to have you take it all for granted. And just like that, everything I had worked for, everything I thought was solid, started to crack. I realized that all this time I had been pretending, putting on a front, acting like I had everything together. But the truth was, I was using him, and I wasn't even honest with myself about it. "I'm not going to beg you to stay, Ivy," Paul said, his voice soft but final. "I'm done. I need someone who respects me." And with that, he walked away. Just like that. No yelling, no drama. He just left me standing there in our granite kitchen, alone with the consequences of everything I'd done. I wanted to cry. I wanted to apologize, tell him I was wrong, that I didn't mean it. But the words didn't come. I was too proud. And that's the part that eats at me now. I didn't even get the chance to admit it to him, to make it right. The silence that followed was deafening, and as I stood there, surrounded by everything I thought I wanted, I realized that maybe, just maybe, I had lost everything in the process. Paul's decision to walk away was final. But it wasn't just about leaving the house or packing up his things. He made sure everything was in motion, cutting ties in every way possible. We didn't even go to counseling. There were no let's figure this out talks. He just filed, and within a few months, everything was set. No fighting, no wasting time. It was over. And in the end, I was left to pick up the pieces of a life I had built off of someone else's hard work. I was furious. I couldn't even look at him without boiling over. How could he do this to me? I gave him 3 kids, 8 years of my life. He couldn't just walk away like that, could he? But that's exactly what he did. The divorce was finalized quickly, and when it came to the settlement, Paul didn't budge. I got no alimony, nothing. He didn't give me half of the house, nothing. I had to leave the big house in Summerlin, the Lexus, the life that I thought was mine. The worst part? I had to do it alone. He didn't give me any help, no bridge loan, no assistance, just a cold, hard, you-made-your-bed decision. At first, I thought he was bluffing. Maybe he just wanted me to feel the pain, or maybe this was his way of making me beg for him to reconsider. But no, it wasn't a game to him. He stuck to his guns. The lawyers kept telling me the same thing. Paul had made sure his business assets were protected, and everything was legitimate. He didn't owe me anything. I couldn't even fight for primary custody, which honestly was a blow to my pride. Paul was the better parent. Even when it came to the kids' well-being, he always made sure they were taken care of, always kept them in mind. And that hurt. He didn't have to do that, but he did. He didn't just leave me with nothing. He made sure I knew the price of all those years I had been taking advantage of him. I was mad, frustrated, livid, really. How could I be in this position? How could I be the one stuck with nothing while he walked away like it was no big deal? But here I was, with no house, no extra money, and nothing left but my pride. Well, that, and a bitter taste in my mouth that I couldn't shake. I didn't tell anyone how bad it was. I couldn't let my friends know the truth, that I was that woman, the one who used someone else for her own gain, pretending to love them when deep down, I wasn't sure what love really was anymore. But I wasn't ready to admit it. I was still just as defensive as ever. I wasn't going to let anyone see how badly I messed up. In my mind, it wasn't my fault. If Paul had just been more understanding, if he had just kept giving me what I wanted, none of this would have happened, right? But deep down, I knew the truth. I should have never let it get this far. I should have appreciated him more. I should have been a better wife, a better partner. But I didn't, and now I was paying the price for it. When I look back now, the anger hasn't really gone away. I still don't think I'm fully responsible for what happened. I still think Paul should have done more to keep me happy. But I know I messed up. I'll never get back what I lost. And it doesn't matter how mad I am. The truth is, Paul was the one who won. He got out clean. He got his life back. And I was left alone, dealing with the fallout of my own decisions. And no matter how much I try to justify it to myself, that's the way it ended. Paul walked away. And I was left with nothing but regret and the cold, harsh reality that he didn't need me as much as I needed him.